Okay. Welcome everyone to the nightly Q&A for the 2022 Blood in the Snow Film Festival presented by Superchannel. I'm your host Rob Bellamy, host of Bits Radio. You can hear this show and many others at www.bitsradio.com. But for this festival, we are Bits TV, and tonight we are here with some of the filmmakers from the shorts you just got to watch. What we'll do is we'll start with Adrian, and we'll go around and introduce yourself and your project, if you don't mind.
Sure. My name is Adrian Bob. I'm the writer and director of The Foreman.
Ray?
Yeah, my name is Ray Raghavan, and I am the writer-director, story and director for Alienation.
Perfect. And Andrew?
Beautiful. I'm Andrew David Osborne, and I'm the writer-director of Vicinal.
Very cool. Guys, the shorts were amazing, I got to say. I watched them all a couple times just to make sure I was ready for tonight. I want to start with Andrew, just because the name of yours, it kept throwing me. How did you come up with the name for your short?
Yeah, the name I'm getting a lot of comments on. I just had the premiere this week, and I made a joke that it was turning everyone into Italians because they kept pronouncing it vicino. But it's a word that means, it is a Latin word. I mean, the basis of it is Latin. It's like vicinity, like neighboring, adjacent. And my film is about an attic that may or may not have someone living in it, with this couple who's living in this apartment, and they're wondering what's going on. And so I just thought the name was kind of cool. It kind of sounds like visceral, which is another thing people mix it up for. But yeah, I just wanted to stand out with the name, but maybe it's throwing people off, and I should have called it the Crawl Space or something. I don't know.
Oh, no. Trust me, because when I saw the name, it's like, oh, I got to check that out. And that's why I didn't understand the word to see the connection, but I love the title. But now it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, thanks. I like the title too. I think it looks cool in the poster. And it's kind of different, so I'm happy with it.
Excellent. And actually, I think this question will be for everybody about names, because I'm curious about where these names came from. Like Ray, your film is called Alienation, but it's kind of all shoved together. How did that come up?
I mean, this film came to me in 2018, I would say, somewhere around there, where there was, news of, there was this photo of this little Mexican girl circulating in the media, looking at her mother while they are being separated, and the fact that people in some countries are treated as aliens, but when we all want just one thing, like I'm an immigrant to Canada, and I guess the only reason we move is to provide a better future for ourselves and our children. And so the fact that we have these boundaries in place, but we are separated from each other, and anyone who comes from outside is looked as an alien, looked on as an alien, is very in itself an alien feeling to human beings when we are all supposed to be together. So that's pretty much where the title came from. A lot of people did, mention that there was a TV show back in the day called Alienation as well, but I think ours is significantly different in tone and story. So yeah, there you go.
Worlds apart, no pun intended, but also it's two words, which is why it was interesting to see yours as a combined word. I thought that was excellent. And then Adrian, the foreman, the way it's spelled, you're thinking, okay, someone in charge of a job or a crew, or where did that come from?
So it was actually kind of the last part of the story that I put together. And a big part of that was, it was just following the logic of the world and what happens in the world of this film, where time collapses. And immediately my interest wasn't so much, okay, well, the past is all collided with the present. It was also the future. And as soon as you follow that chain of logic, you get to, well, who caused this event? And then you just kind of think about, well, maybe it's something that we evolve into eventually. And I like the idea of taking something that's like the complex idea of like what we evolve into and simplifying it into something that almost sounds like, especially when you look at the title, because there's the hyphen in it, there's, you know, that there's
Yep.
something else that it's implying. It's not like the classic use of the word foreman. It feels like there's something else that's being said. And because of just the use of that word for, you know, such as forward or anything that kind of comes after or is in the foreground, that's what the foremen are. They're us, but in the future.
Excellent. That's why I love this choice of people to be in this particular chat, is because the titles say so much about the film before you even get to see it. And I thought that was incredible. Now, I'm going to focus on Adrian and Ray just a little bit because there's more of a sci-fi nature included. And I'm just wondering how much effects were involved in it. I know, Adrian, that one shot with I guess the foreman, and it's got those things on the tethers, like that looks amazing. How much of that was practical and how much of that was, added?
So for the foremen, I mean, light is a big part of them too. So I'll say the light is practical, but everything about them is digital. And I spent a lot of time designing them to make them look in the way that there's so much there, but also there's so much hidden. So you couldn't quite tell how much is actually real or non-real. And I performed them too. So a lot of that was just me in my living room filming myself and then recording that animation and putting it into them too. So it was a lot of just eeriness. And a big part of that, I think what makes the foreman work is that they move in a way that doesn't give too much away. And you're so busy reading them that you kind of get nothing. And I love the feeling of that frustration of not being able to read something that technically looks human, but because of the way it's designed, doesn't give you any feedback. You can't get into their heads, even though it's clear the way that they move is they can get into yours.
No, absolutely. I didn't realize the people themselves weren't really there. Like that's incredible. Well, and see, and then Ray jumps on the other band because he's got a lot of practical effects, like the creature from behind the tree, and then when Reese is getting strangled. Like how hard was it to do all of that stuff practically in the forest?
One of the I didn't miss that, I guess Reese, I guess.
Oh yeah, I've met Reese before. Yeah.
Yeah, Reese was in one of my favorite films of last year, I think. Gorman, like the Gorman, and so as soon as he auditioned for this, I was like, I have to have him. And so, that was where he came from. And so going into the film, I knew that I didn't want any of the creature effects to be in VFX. I apologize. I am in the opening gala of another film festival and I have to switch back between the headphones. So and it's a little bit shaky, the camera, but yeah, so I was saying that so I knew it. I didn't want any of the alien to be VFX at all, and it's just to go back to the films of Spielberg and all that. So it's like a darker ET, the film. So I wanted the effects to be practical. Took a long time to get the gear and all getting it ready, but what we wanted to do was support it with atmospheric VFX to support the mood of the film, support the character choices of the film. So things that you wouldn't even notice are VFX in the film, but maybe subtly give information. So like for instance, there is a decision that the main protagonist has to make about whether she should do something, sacrifice something, and there is this spot of ray, sun, a light of sun coming glowing on her head, and that's all VFX. That there was no sun at that angle, but it's just that subtle thing, that gives more. And then the cloud cover coming over the alien and all of those. So things like that. Just the color of the egg, finding that in the post. So those are all VFX effects which we definitely want to enhance the atmosphere and the character choices. So yeah.
Excellent. And those are some of the best times that visual effects are used, when you don't notice, to accent a scene, which brings me to Andrew. Was there anything used in yours for visual effects? Because everything looks spot on, like how dark that door is when it does finally open. Was there anything added to that to make it creepier?
No, I didn't pull a David Fincher and paint things out and do those little, like what Ray was talking about, put a sun somewhere to just enhance the shot, even if it's not a big creature effect. I mean, this is a really low budget film, as I'm sure we're all dealing with, and it was shot in my apartment to save money. The whole story came out of this apartment that I live in and the attic that I happen to have, and thinking, wow, I'm a filmmaker, I got to make a movie here.
You're in that apartment right now?
I'm in the apartment right now. This is it. This is the living room. This is,
Okay, look at that.
This is the set. It's weird to live in your own set because it always feels like you're just making a home movie, like you're 12 years old. No, the stuff you're talking about was done in color. I think you could do some of the stuff Ray was talking about. You could do in the color session and the transfer. And yeah, that's the thing I've been dealing with my film is it's creepy, it's eerie. Maybe you could say it's disturbing, but it's not a traditional, I guess, horror film in that there's no big gore or violence or creature effects. And I think that might be limiting the number of horror festivals that it could get into, because I think a lot of those festivals really prize that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's kind of been my experience of it.
Well, no, you're 100% right, because horror is not just, the gore and the decapitations and things like that. Horror, honestly, yours is a true horror because it deals with humanity and it deals with uncertainty. And I think those can be far more terrifying than a Jason or a Freddy. Not a Michael. I love Michael, but those other ones. So
yeah, it's like something that could really potentially happen to you. Just some weird guy becomes obsessed with you and wants to do something messed up to you.
Exactly.
That's that could really happen, and that's the fears that I'm trying to play on. And I just showed it to about 100 people at the premiere on Tuesday, and everyone was pretty unsettled and were gasping and stuff. I could hear their reaction, and it made it really made it all worth it. Felt great.
Excellent. Now, all three of you, with your productions, because again, shorts, we know it's usually kind of like a weekend thing or something like that. Were they long shoots? Ray, we'll start with you on this one. Was it a very long time shooting your short?
Yeah, just give me 1 second while I switch back.
Not a problem.
But we did. We had 3 days of production, plus 1 pickup day, and but we did have almost 2 to 3 months of just prepping the film, because Andrew was saying, it's all indie. I had a really good collaborator in Ed Douglas who did all the VFX on the film too, and just storyboarding every shot, every sort of stickmans, drawing stickmans, and just making sure we have all the shots and that is required to tell the story. So we shot it. The good thing about BC is we have tons and tons of forest. I mean, and forage, I guess too. But
you do that in there.
So there was no. Like when we scouted locations, we would be like, oh, this would be good. So we looked at 3 or 4 forest regions to sort of film, and then sort of filmed a certain part in a certain location according to the mood of the film at that point, then filmed another part in another place. So we were lucky enough to find a cave too. So yeah, that was all just lots and lots of prepping. So yeah, I think my wife was close to saying that you should just not come home anymore. but that was pretty much how we prepped the film. And but 3 days of production, to answer your question. Sorry, that was a long time.
Oh, no. I think we've all been there at that point where your significant other is going, this is taking up a lot of time. Andrew.
Yeah, my girlfriend lives here, so that's even worse.
Exactly.
I turned our shared home into the set of a horror movie. She does not like horror movies. So that was interesting.
Was she in it at all?
She's not in it. She moved out for a whole week while we were shooting, actually. It was a 5-day shoot, and she just went to stay with her parents. She's like, this place was a mess. There was film equipment everywhere. I was stepping over, C-stands to get into bed and stuff. So that was an experience for all of us.
So it was 5 days for yours?
Yeah, it was 5 days, which was probably overkill in retrospect, because I think the last day we wrapped like hours early, or 2 hours early or something, which is pretty weird for a low budget short film. Yeah, but I come from the world of commercials. I know. I come from the world of commercials, and I feel extremely guilty keeping people past 12 hours because that's what everyone complains about, and especially if they're not getting paid that much. I'm like, let's just do an extra. We could have done it in 4. Well, let's just do an extra day, so we're not rushing and doing 15, 16-hour days and having all these people hate me. I just want to be liked. And, I want everyone to have a good time and look at the experience fondly and want to work with me again. So,
no, that's good. That is good. I draw the line 16 hours. That's it.
Yeah, 16 hours. Nothing.
Adrian, how long was your shoot?
So the shoot was 3 days too. It was height of COVID too. So we were very, very careful in planning everything that we did for it. But we did a lot of pre-production, and the way that I like to work is I write and I storyboard and I design and I build in 3D. I do it all at once in pre-production, so that by the time we do get to post, we don't have a lot to do. We still had a lot to do on this project because VFX are so integral to the short. And a big part of it was making them seamless so that you didn't know that there were VFX in certain areas and that they're kind of hidden. And there is an air of mystery to it all. Especially the beginning before we went to camera, I did every storyboard at every single scene. So by the time we were ready to go, people felt like they were kind of living the movie and they knew what to expect. And that was really important for our actors too, is to know what they were acting at. Even if they didn't see it, they knew exactly what it was designed to look like, what everything was meant to look like. So they went into it bringing a lot, and I'm internally grateful for what they brought to that project. So
that makes sense now too. Now that I know that that person wasn't actually there, that's even more impressive.
It's really important. I don't like doing the tennis ball acting if I can. So if I can't, I'll even just take the place of some of them, which I did in that shoot. So it was really important to make sure that they had that authenticity to react to.
And I think you guys nailed it all. I noticed a lot of you said pre-production. The more you do in that pre-production, the less you have to do in actual production. Was there anything that you found while you were shooting that you wish you had done in pre-production that you didn't get a chance to do? Andrew, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, I felt really overstretched during pre-production because I was producing the film and gearing up to direct it when the time came, and I wrote it, and 2 months really of all that. But I remember having a rehearsal with the actors and hearing them read my dialogue and going, wow, I thought I was David Mamet over here, but hearing these guys say my lines, I'm like, oh, this could use a few more passes. I need more feedback. I need more time. But by that point, I had started the train. The train was rolling and these people were all on board, and we were set to shoot actually at the end of October last year before it got too cold and too miserable in Toronto to film. And I just didn't have time to rewrite the script. I'm like, I guess my hands are so full producing this thing. there's no time. So 2 months, I wish I gave it, 6 months really, or really nailed the script first and had more rehearsal time before I shot it.
Excellent. Working on Adrian and Ray. We'll get to you in 1 second. I just want to thank everybody that's at home watching for watching not only the shorts tonight, but our little quick Q&A. If you are curious about what we're going to keep talking about, like what Adrian is going to say about what he missed in pre-production, and Ray, and maybe a couple other questions, tune into bitsradio.com and you'll be able to hear the rest of this. So enjoy the rest of the festival and have a great night. And we're good. All right, now we're in podcast material.
Okay.
So, Adrian, was there anything you had wished you had given yourself more time for in pre?
I think we managed to do everything I needed in pre, but I will say because of COVID, I did miss having a live rehearsal. We did I literally didn't meet our actors until we were on set because of COVID. Everything was so locked down that I couldn't do the fittings with them, the costume fittings. I couldn't do the rehearsals, but we did everything through Zoom. So we still got it done, but it was like, I wish there was still that, even just, I'm not usually comfortable with leaving everything up to the day we literally are starting to shoot to meet people for the first time. So I do wish we could have had that, but even without that, I think we made it work.
Excellent. Yeah, and you're right. That face-to-face interaction, like it's great meeting you guys like this, but I can't wait to the day where we can be there and meet in person. I get it. Ray, was there anything you thought you should have done in pre-production, you wished you could have done in pre-production?
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo a lot of what Andrew was saying about because short films, you're producing it yourself, so the the day-to-day, the lunch, the stuff, and all of that, when you're before you know it, it's production day. And so and again, also a little bit of what Adrian was saying, I just noticed, so you're Andrew, Adrian, and then my Indian name is Anand, so like they're all A's over here. but
Cool.
and I also want to say, Andrew, that what you did with the 5 days is probably the right way to do it. That was my learning out of it, was like both of us are filmmakers, me and my collaborator Ed Douglas, and we're like, okay, so if we say 3 days, we want 4 days. That's what we're going forward with for our next films from now on, because I think it's just is more there's always something that gets pushed, and 3 days is probably not going to cut it. But anyways, going back to, so I feel like I could have used a little bit more time with the actors, but it was a sort of a catch 22 situation, because my film doesn't, we knew that the script was right because the script had placed really high on a lot of the screenwriting contests, and so we knew our script was strong, but then we changed it a bit to match the locations, but there was not a lot of dialogue in it to rehearse. However, things that I would ignore, my producing partner and collaborator Ed would then, shout out to Ed Douglas, by the way. We both worked on it really hard, and he was without him this film would have not been possible. But he forced me to go talk to the creature artist and work out the movements. In my head, I had asked one of my, so I had pulled in a lot of favors with that. So this is a guy who had been working on a lot of creature. He's been a creature artist for a long time. So he came to us. In my head, you hired the good actors. Reese was there and some others, and I was like, they got it. They know what to do. But it really helped for me to go sit down with the creature artist and work out the movements of the hand and head and stuff, which then came back to the shots. We could plan the shots better. So I think that having more of that would definitely have contributed to it. But at the same time, because of the nature of the story, there was I wanted a certain distance between border security people and the mother and daughter who were running from them. So it kind of helped in that way because there was that awkwardness between them, and also. But yeah, I think that because of COVID, I couldn't sit there and talk about stuff more. But, so that would be the only thing I missed about it. So it was like, well, I guess in the end, whatever happened for a reason, and I'm happy that it turned out that way. So, yeah.
Well, no, you brought up a good point that, like the tentacle movement and things like that. I know if I was filming that, I don't think I would focus a whole lot on that, but it's kind of critical. And it's kind of nice that they pointed that out. And I get exactly what you're saying. I do think Andrew's 100% right too. Also, you plan an 8-hour day and then book everybody for 10. That kind of mentality. Just I know as independent filmmakers, myself included, you try for a 12-hour day and it stretches to 14. This way, you're not disappointing. And yeah, Andrew, Ray, and I are agreeing. Yeah, you have the best plan.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, the one question I'd love to ask people, especially about their projects, because I know even in mine, there's so much stuff that never hits from the script to film or from the film to the end. Was there anything in your project that you had hoped for in the kernel but didn't get to see in your final product? Adrian, we'll start with you on this one.
There was, and I think that was all in the script stage. In the script stage, especially because with the short, you have to, you know that you have an economy of time, right? Like you're always trying to make sure that you're using every minute that you have to tell the story as succinctly as you can. And I feel like by the end of it, it got to a place that I was very happy with in terms of the mysteries that I left out. But there was so many mysteries that I have answers for that I didn't get into the short. And I think the short works well without them. However, it is something like right now we're working on a feature version of it. So we're trying to now really answer those things, which you can do in a feature. But for a short, I think it works stronger, especially in the horror genre, when there is that mystery there and when there is that confusion and that kind of sense of like what is going on and never getting that answer and kind of living without that. I think there's something terrifying about that. So I think it worked better because of that.
You've sort of jumped the gun on my next question, but we'll come back to that. Ray, was there anything in your project that didn't either make it to the script or into the actual film?
More money and more time. I've definitely gotten everything I wanted, but at the end of the day, necessity is, like they say, is the mother of all creations. And so I did. I think that the film turned out the way it turned out because we were constricted. There was, in the moment, things that you wish that you gave it a little bit more time. So there was a shot there was a specific wide angle shot that I didn't. I was like, I wish I had, did a camera test on this wide because it was essential to the film and sort of seen or blocked it better or, gone to a different spot or something in the forest to get it done. So yeah, in the moment stuff, there's always things that you feel like, I wish we had done that better, but I don't think overall there was anything that we missed out on for the essence of the film from our planning stage as such. And that was again because we did a lot of prep. So even when things went out the window for things that we didn't plan, like we were losing light and stuff because of our blocking that we had planned, we knew that we could get a shot that would cover all of that. So yeah, so it was just because of that, I think we got most of it.
Good stuff. Okay, that's rare in a short, trust me. Andrew, was there any elements that you had hoped to be able to put in either from your script or, that got cut?
Well, we did cut out a pretty long scene that just was unnecessary, and it felt so amazing to get rid of it. The movie just moved so much faster, and it was such a blessing. I never thought we could get rid of this scene until my DP was watching a cut, and he was like, why don't we just lose this whole crappy part right at the beginning and just get right to it? And I'm like, great, that's incredible. But when you're thinking about how to, like, where what I had in mind when I was writing the movie, like over a year ago, and what I thought it was going to be. I feel like, I don't know if you guys could agree, Adrian and Ray, and Rob, but that just goes away. That just slowly like disappears after you've seen what you actually made so many times and have done the sound mix and done the color and done 5 bajillion edits. You're like, what was I thinking when I started this? I even read my own script back that I wrote in August 2021, and I'm like, what did I have in mind? I can't remember at all. All I know is what I have in front of me now. And it's the same thing with like the rehearsals, wishing you had more rehearsal time. It's like, okay, well, you don't, and we're shooting this now, and screw my script. We got these actors here, we got this location here. What are we going to do and make this, how are we going to make this good now? And that's the same with the editing too. It's like, you can't go back. You can't regret it. You just have to like maybe change the whole tone of the movie in the editing room to make it work. Just do whatever you can to make it work, you know?
Yep. I agree. There's 3 points in a film where you have major changes. It's the first table read, because then you actually hear your words being spoken, like you said, and went, "Oh my God, why did I write that?" The minute you start shooting, because now you're seeing it acted out, and the minute it hits the editing suite, and those are the 3 points that tend to really mold your actual film. Like you said, Andrew, what you see in your head when you put pen to paper isn't always what comes out at the end. And
exactly.
It's amazing because, like I said, the 3 films from you guys were incredible, and it's weird to think of any other thought in your head except what we saw at the end. Do you know what I mean? So this last question then, and I said, and I think Adrian already jumped the gun on this. Usually when you have a short film, it's either like a calling card to say, look, this is something I can put on my demo reel, or look what I've done, or it's a proof of concept where it's like, this is a cool idea that I think we can make into a feature. So with your projects, what would you more categorize it as? Like a proof of concept, or do you see a bigger life to it? We'll start with Ray on that one. We'll give him a second to switch over.
It is definitely a calling card thing for me, and boy, I am really, really excited about where this film has taken its been to. Right now, I'm at Film Quest, and then I was in LA for Holly Sharks, and then Blood in the Snow, Canadian premiere, and Trieste Sci-Fi. So I think that I'm getting a lot of notice. So I think it's worked in that way. Can it become a feature? Absolutely, it can become a feature. But having said that, I have another. So basically, I had made a feature a while ago, and it did all the underground sci-fi film festivals, and it was brought by Gravitas Ventures, and it was sold to them, and it's on Tubi now. But it took me 5 years or close to 7 years to actually get it released with the VFX and all of that. And it's a sci-fi, quite inspired by Clockwork Orange and stuff. But in the meantime, I hadn't made anything. And this film was just basically me saying, the script is good. Oh yeah, you said this is the podcast world, so I was like, fuck everything else. Let me just go ahead and I have to make something, and I went ahead and made this. And just as a personal motivation, that I can make films. So the external validation that has come with it has been great. In terms of feature, actually, I've been selected in the horror lab for Blood in the Snow for my feature film. So I'm really excited to come out for that and make the connections there for that. Looking forward to make that film. That film is very personal to me. It's based on my experiences as a coming into Canada as a student and then becoming an immigrant, getting my immigration and all of that. So it's my shift. It's the first time I've shifted from sci-fi to horror, pure horror, and well, not pure horror. It's horror dramedy, I would say. But what I mean is there's no sci-fi element to it. It's more of the horror. So we'll see. And I think I only got that because of the recognition that this film is getting. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, Andrew, Do you see that being a larger picture?
Maybe at one point I did, but I'm so sick of my own movie. I could never ever imagine turning it into a film. I just can't even look at it anymore. It just makes my eyes bleed. I had the premiere, like I said, on Tuesday night. I invited all my friends and family at the Royal Cinema in Toronto, and that did feel like kind of a happy ending to this particular project, because it's, well, so far not really getting into festivals. I'm very grateful Blood in the Snow accepted it for Superchannel, but it doesn't seem to fit in the festival ecosystem, which I'm still learning about. I've been doing commercials for 8 years, and this is my first time doing a film, and the whole reason was to sort of just have something and see what would happen, see who I'd meet, see where it would go. Just an excuse to learn, really. And like I said earlier, I'm learning a little bit about what gets in and what doesn't get into festivals, especially horror festivals and genre festivals. And I think the length of my film at 20 minutes is a bit of a negative, it seems. I'm not trying to sound bitter about the film. I'm so happy that I made it, but it's not really. It's I guess it's a calling card more than a feature, because there's absolutely no way in hell I'm doing anything else with Vicinal or those characters, or I'm not filming anything else in my apartment. I'm going to leave my apartment, go film something, come back home, close the door, lock it, leave all that out there. And yeah, so no, it's been great. And this is cool to do stuff like this and meet you guys and hear about your experiences. And that was the point of it, really.
I understand exactly what you mean. We shot a feature film about a dance student. So the first 3 days of shooting was in a studio with one song playing over and over and over. So after that 3 days, I didn't want to hear it. And then 2 months later, I'm editing the film. So I have to listen to it over. And so I get it. Do I like it now? Yes. Did I then? No. So
yeah, maybe in a few years, I'll look back at it fondly.
Yep.
Right now, I'm like, please, something else, kill me.
So dramatic. No, don't show me. Okay. Adrian, you kind of hinted at a larger world for the Foreman.
Yeah, and I think it's not always the intent to make a feature. I think that's just usually how I make my stories. I always have a list of stories I want to tell, and the first thing that I always prioritize is it new? Is it something different? And there's a challenge that comes with that usually, where if it's new, if it's different, it means you have to explain more. And you have to really, there's a lot more work that you have to do. You can't rely on, oh, it's an alien or it's a ghost or it's anything like this. When you're creating something fresh, you do have to find a way to get that across. So it was a lot of building, a lot of the lore building. Like, my notebook is just a mess of just all the possibilities. It looks like literally a crazy map. And it was, once we made the short, it was one of those things where, I totally empathize with Andrew. You lose objectivity. You don't know what this is anymore. And, you throw it out into the world and you're like, great, whatever happens, whatever doesn't happen, great. There's another 10 projects on this list that I would love to do if this doesn't work out, but we'll see.
But it's done.
And exactly, but it's done. And that's really important to say it's done. But luckily, we had our premiere at Fantasia this year, and we were also at Holly Shorts. So that's crazy. We must have missed each other. And then we'll be in Film Quest, and then with Toronto After Dark just before this. And the response has been fantastic. I mean, it's the first thing that usually happens is people come after, and they're just like, I have these questions. I want to know what's going on here, what's happening here, and it's just like, okay. So at least there's that, it's like, I can't know if this is good anymore, but if people are coming to ask to see what happens next or what happens in this world, I have those answers, and it's like, well, okay, then this is a project that can stand on that at least. So it is one of those things where I feel like when I'm writing shorts, I'm ticking a few boxes to see, like, it does need to have a complete circle, that there does need to be a story that begins and ends. But I do think it's important to imply more. just in case, if it clicks and there's an audience for it, great, I'll pursue it. But it does still have to stand on its own legs too. I think that's still important.
Excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in and chatting about your films. They were amazing, and I'm so glad you got into Blood in the Snow. Hopefully, we get to meet up someday. Sounds like some people might actually be at Blood in the Snow, so I will be there. But again, and if you guys have stuff coming up in the future, please get a hold of us. Now that you're Bits alumni, we'd love to have you back on the show talking about whatever you're up to.
That'd be
Beautiful.
great.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you. This is special.
Not a problem. So I guess for now, for Bits Radio, this is Rob, and we will see you